Okay, so in this video, I'm going to talk about justice in the human environment. So justice is a concept that you basically should have been taught in life in things like public schools, and maybe should be mandated in private schools too. But you know, time is still moving forward, and it's only the year 2026 at the shooting of this video, and in 500 years from now, they'll be teaching the concept of justice in schools. And if they don't, well, then they didn't listen to me. Basically, from the time you were a child, you needed to learn about things like good and evil and which side of things in the world you're fighting on. And nobody taught this to you, and nobody taught you about anything like this. Nobody taught you about law. Back when I was in high school, it was just something that you would figure out in the world existed. We would just go to high school parties and be like, so you can't drive home drunk? You can't do that? And that was your first, for many people, and including myself, the first idea of what law was in the world. You couldn't drive home drunk from high school parties. And it's really important because you need to stick to this concept of justice in life, and good and evil. And with those three things, you could have just figured out so many things in life, and things could have gone so much better for so many people had they just embraced these concepts and just lived their lives by them from the start, and just taught them in things like public schools to people. And the world would be such a better place for the cost of practically nothing. And it's how the human environment actually functions, because life in the world basically functions in the form of power, and your states and governments function around this word justice. When the Bible was written about 2,000 years ago, they knew what that was. We need something. We don't know what that is. What is that? Okay, let's call that justice. So we do bad things to bad people. And you need to start embracing this concept in life and living your life by this concept, and knowing which side of good and evil you're on in the world and society and life. And this improves everything in life to a large degree for practically nothing. You're just dedicated to this concept in life. I knew it from the start in life. Should have been taught to children. They tried when they wrote the Bible 2,000 years ago. We don't know what that is, but we got to have that. We're going to call that justice. It's got to be in the world. Today, over 2,000 years later, whatever it is, you actually, pay money so that we can actually have that in the world. And they hire people who are professionals and went to school, and then they have things like the Department of Justice and this, that, and it became something we needed. But basically, it was a concept in the human environment that was never taught to people from the start. And neither was law. And, they created law so that they could have rules for how that was going to happen, and they created the structure. And none of this was taught to any kids in life from the start. But yeah, in the human environment, you should have actually been taught about it from the start of life, and known which side you were on from the start of life, of good and evil. You were on which side you were going to fight on, and the side you were going to fight on was going to be justice. And it should have been embraced in your basically childhood, honestly, as early as possible in life. So yeah, that's how justice looks in the human environment today. It's really bad. It's not taught to people. You might figure it out in your life as life goes on. You figure out what side of life in the world you're fighting on. But yeah, it looks really bad in the year 2026, and hopefully it's better in 500 or 1,000 years from now. And the concept of justice is embraced by human society.